I grew up in an era when, trades people will be like, make sure you don't tell him how to do that now. Like, you keep that secret yourself. And it was really like, and again,
Was.
the clients knew nothing and were literally told, I'm building the house and get out of my way and I'm going to do a type thing, Look, we live in a
Yeah.
completely different era. We live in the communication age. We all have phones.
Hello, everybody. I'm the Gaffer, Gavin Coyle, back again with a fantastic guest. He's a celebrity icon in the Irish community of construction. His name is Pete Finn. He's a TV celebrity in the construction space. He's done an awful lot in the space in terms of raising the awareness within the construction sector of, good quality construction, working collaboratively with, interior designers, but also, raising the profile of young, energetic, ambitious construction owners. And he's done a brilliant job of branding himself. I would say hats off to him in that regard. So there's a lot to unpack here within today's podcast, because the guy, I don't know where the guy gets the time, to be honest with you. I don't know how he's actually standing up straight. Considering we're even talking to him today and he's in his transit van. I'm not sure if it's a transit van, but it's a van and he's on site. So his commitment to, getting out there is unquestionable. Pete, it's a great pleasure to have you on I'm the Gaffer. How are you today?
Thanks very much. Well, I'm in my Toyota van, my Toyota Pro Ace here. Gavin, thanks very much for having me on, and thanks very much for a really, really complimentary introduction. So delighted to be here and delighted to represent the construction industry and to talk about it in as much detail as we can.
Yeah, and no better man, to be honest with you. Like, give our international audience is sort of a sense of your TV background, I suppose. Let's get straight into it in terms of, the house rescue and the model around the house rescue and how, that's been a major success within an Irish construction story.
Yeah, so we have a TV show in Ireland, I'm sure you know, Gavin, called Room to Improve. Dermot Bannon is like an absolute household celebrity in Ireland. He's been on our iconic Late Late show about 25 times at this stage. I always give him an awful slagging about that. But so I was one of the builders on Room to Improve for a good few years. I've done 8 individual projects, and basically it started off with a one-room extension to a house and how you could improve the house through that. That show has evolved into massive builds. It would be very like Grand Designs, I suppose now, which is the very well-known English show with Duncan MacLeod, I think his name is. So Dermot Bannon is our version of Mr. MacLeod. So we did the show through my business, and I was the representative. Myself and my business partner, Mark Flynn, kind of made the decision that I would be the face of our company. And look, it went very well. But we'd been there and done that. We'd done the 8 shows, and we were busy, so we kind of didn't price any more of those shows. And then they approached me and asked me would I do a spin-off show called Home Rescue. So it's kind of like a smaller version of DIY SOS. So there's always a need, and people are, in a situation where they need your help. So they basically give us the keys to their house, and we go in and we do a complete makeover. And sorry, there's just a guy come up to the window there as we're talking, but yeah, we do a complete makeover and a redesign. So Dee Coleman is the designer that's involved, and Dee is the designer on every show, and I'm the builder on every show, and my crew come in and we have our back and forth, we have our drama, and at the end of the day, we always deliver. We change the purpose of the house in a lot of ways, and really make sure that the house suits the needs of the family. There's always different needs. There could be a health issue, maybe kids with autism, mobility issues. So it's the show with a lot of heart, and it certainly helped my profile. A lot of people have a lot of I suppose admiration for what we do for people, and I gain a lot of respect from that. And then I've morphed on and I've done a couple of kind of celebrity shows. I was on Hell Week, which is again the Irish version of SOS, where they put you into the army for a week and you have to survive, and that was an amazing experience as well. So
there was a great dynamic, definitely on the TV show from what I've seen. The and vulnerability comes across to mind. That you're going into a very challenging situation where somebody had lost something, or somebody had mental health issues, or there was some level of trauma within the house. Now, the levels were up and down. Some of them weren't as traumatic as others, but definitely the collaboration between yourself and Dee, you could feel that. Yeah, there was a good energy between the two of yous in terms of the yin and yang. You know, you were the man getting it up and getting it done, and she was kind of like, "Oh, can I get this done? Can I get more done?" And you were like, "Jesus, I want to get out of here!" Like, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, come on, what's going on? But you came across humble in it, and you came across, very sympathetic to the homeowners, and I think that's, from my perspective, for what it's worth, I felt that was the one of the major achievements within it, that there isn't this construction, go in and bull into it and get everything done, and there's skips all over the place and chaos. It was professionally done and was very, very well structured.
Oh, thanks very much. Yeah, look, it's again, it's a show with an awful lot of heart, and look, I genuinely am honoured to be able to represent the construction industry in Ireland through the home rescue show. And again, sometimes us builders can get a bad rap, and us people in the construction industry, the breakfast
Yeah,
roll eating, wolf whistling type of a character that people kind of have in their
yeah,
mind. It's quite far from that. Like, we've got some brilliant people in construction in the industry all over the world, and like, people underestimate what it's like to be a main contractor. You're juggling an awful lot of balls. You're bringing an awful lot of stuff together. You
yeah,
really do have to be very organized and be very coordinated to make things happen. From the start to finish to the end. And then when you add in, the issues that you have in home rescue, you have to be very sensitive to the people, and to their home, because it's someone's home. Remember, it's not just a building; it's someone's home. And I always say that to all of my lads: you have to respect someone's home. Treat the home the way you would treat your own home. And obviously, we have to do it in a way where we're trying to get a huge amount of work done in a very short period of time. So yeah, no, look, it's again, it's genuinely a privilege and an honor to be able to be involved in it. Very, very positive show. Thankfully, we have another series coming out in September as well. So if anybody has access to RTE2, we're going to be on the 4th of September with a new series, and some really, really tough challenges ahead, both in terms of the design of the houses. Like, they had some huge challenges to try and make houses work for people, because
yeah,
we don't add anything onto the houses. We use the footprint of the home, so we have only a week to get the work done, and that's
yeah,
genuinely all the work is done in that week. And then we obviously had our own challenges as well, where he is pushing the envelope and asking me to do about 7 different
yeah,
rooms when we don't have the time to do it. So it's a great show. It's a great bit of drama. And the thing I really do like about it is it's very honest, and it really gives people the opportunity to see what it's like to be involved in a project. You do see the start, the middle, and the end, and the challenges that are arose, and how we have to come up with solutions on the fly to get them done. And again, I think it's great for the industry to be represented like that, but it's done in an honest way. Like, I mean, you'll see the rows, you'll see, the challenges, you'll see the effort that goes in to get these things done, the late nights and all that as well. So yeah, it's
yeah.
really, really been a um, great. I don't know what's the right way to put it, but something that came into my life
Feel
unexpectedly, and yeah,
It's a real feel good story. It's a real feel good story, like, and it's also like, giving back. Do you know what I mean? That you've like, and this is where we wanted to get you on the show as well. Is that there's a lot of guys that are producing TikTok videos, and some of them are amazing, some are very, very, very good. But I think you've done a really good job of brand awareness of your own personal brands, if you don't mind me saying so. And I think people could take a lot of inspiration in terms of, all right, it's great to have being creative, and with especially the younger generation coming through construction. Some of the videos are fantastic, but there isn't a whole look on it. And where I'm going with this is that you were able to give something back. All right, in fairness, you didn't see it coming, but like, you know, I think if people look at it from a point of view of taking the monetary value out of the equation and putting something together that is creative, but also is inspirational and can actually make an impact, you know, I think we need more of that in terms of content, as opposed to just, sort of like working it on the fly. And I think you've done a great job. And I think I think if you can give us some sort of a discussion on that in terms of, you know, feedback to other people, you know?
Yeah, well, it's funny. Like, so as I said, I didn't really expect to end up on the telly, but then I ended up on the television, and I suppose I started to gain a profile. People always think, oh, if you're on one TV show, suddenly you get famous. That's not the case. It took years. Like, I'm on television now, nearly 20 years at this stage. So, you know, it takes a long time for people to really recognize you from it. So after about 4 or 5 years of being on it, and I was starting to get recognized when, you know, you'd be at a football match, or you'd be out, people would be going up, oh, you're the guy off the telly, and this type of stuff. So I started to kind of see that there was something to that. And at the same time, social media started to blow up, or started to really become a part of our lives. Before that, obviously, you know, and it's the iPhones, or the smartphones that have really evolved it. Like, you know, we live our lives around our phone these days. If we're ordering food, if we're booking a holiday, if we're doing anything, we do it through the phone. If we're getting building materials, we can even do it through our phone now. So, I suppose people said to me, look, you really need to be capitalizing on this. And I said, well, I don't really want to become an influencer. I don't want that type of a vibe. It's not really what I do. But then one person said to me, they said, well, look, it's not just about monetary, and you don't have to be the person that goes around going, hey guys, over here, look at this, you know. They said, why don't you put your own stamp on it? This was the thing that actually kind of sold it for me. He said, why don't you actually represent your own industry? Because he says, you're not the stereotypical builder that I thought. You know, you're able to string a sentence together, you're able to talk, you know what I mean? You're able to do stuff like that. And I said, well, look, believe it or not, you know, the whole construction industry can do that as well. And he said, yeah, well, people don't think that, so why don't you let them know? So I said, okay, you're hitting something here. So then the brand part of it, I've huge interest in that. I really do. And I find it really exciting when I see someone start a business, or start a brand from nothing, and how they grow it, and then how it becomes a household name, and that type of thing. So I put a good bit of research into it, just my own research. Like, I listened to podcasts, and I spoke to a few different people about it. So my name is Peter Finn, but my friends would call me Pete. And I think it's a kind of it's a softer or a nicer way. Peter can be a little bit official, you know, whereas Pete is a much more sort of friendly way of saying your name. So I had a couple of lads from Galway, actually. They're great crack, they're roofers, and one of them used to always call me Pete the Builder. As soon as he see me, he'd go, ah, there's Pete the Builder, you know. And I was like, that has a ring to it. And then I also thought about it as well, like, I mean, there's an awful lot of guys who are doing the craft, so you have an awful lot of really good carpenters, and they're showing all the carpentry stuff. And then you've got, like, maybe electricians are showing the electrical stuff, there's plumbers who are showing the plumbing stuff, but there's nobody who's a builder, really, at the time. And there's a few of them now, but there's nobody who was kind of doing everything, because that's what I do. I'm a carpenter by trade, but I'm a builder. You know, every day of the week when I wake up, I've got different projects going on. So it's not just carpentry, it's not just groundwork, it's everything. And I said to myself, yeah, Pete the Builder represents me, uh, as good as I'd like to be represented, and it gives me an opportunity to kind of showcase our industry in lots of different ways, rather than just, you know, diving straight into one aspect of it. So that's kind of where it all originated from. And look, it's been very good to me. I have a brand ambassadorship with Festool Tools. My Toyota van is through the company as well, and I have Snickers clothing as well. I'm a brand ambassador for them. I've done a few different bits and pieces with people over the years, different brands over the years as well, where they get me to be a brand ambassador for them, or maybe represent something. So that type of stuff is nice. But again, I was able to represent our industry on Hell Week. I done very well in Hell Week, and I really enjoyed it at the moment. And it's a good way for me to be able to represent our industry, and kind of let people know that, you know, but there is good people in construction, and there is you know, there's a bit more to what you would stereotypically think. And I think that's been very effective, and I've enjoyed the ride as well. And I always said that as well. If I don't enjoy social media, I don't do it. I do mix it up. I do kind of have a little bit of crack. I come up with some little content ideas, and I say, yeah, sure, look, I'll have this do this for the crack. And then there's sometimes where I'm simply showing people how to do something with that I think is interesting myself, or is a bit unique. So yeah, it's been good. It's been interesting, and you know, I've got a good bit of buy-in on it. But it's something that I do on the side. It's not something that I don't wake up every day going, okay, now I have to post something today, or I have to do that. I the day I start doing that is the day that I think I'll have misrepresented myself. I'm a builder. I wake up every single day, and what I need to do is build to be able to put food on the table for my kids and wife. So that's my always my main priority. And if I can catch a little bit of decent content along the way, that's great too.
Yeah, no, and I'm glad you said that, because I think people get the misconception that you have to keep on pushing out content every day in order to be relevant within the social media community, and it's not the case. Like, people feed off authenticity, and being authentic. Like, me and you had a discussion on the pre-chat about the van and how this podcast would go in terms of the van. Now, my only concern about the phone is, in the cases where you're doing a podcast through a phone, is that the heat on the phone will actually get to a point where it might turn your phone off. So
I
I'm
know. So
conscious of that.
we'll watch it. Don't worry. We'll watch it. We'll watch it. It's not that hot today,
So
so we're okay.
I want you to do temperature gauges every now and again and say, "Look, Gavin, have to pull the fire sprinkler in here, because we
But
need to get
just
out of
getting
here."
back to the social media content, I think the man who's actually nailed it is Roy Keane. Like, Roy Keane wasn't on social media really for a very long time, and then he's come out and he very rarely posts. But when he posts something, it's iconic and it's absolutely brilliant. Now, look, Roy Keane has a huge following and he's got a global name, and obviously, probably the greatest Irish footballer of all time. So, like, I mean, he's well known, but he's also hilarious, and his wit and his humor really comes across in his social media. So I'm absolutely loving his stuff, and it's very seldom that he posts, but when he does, you're just like, oh, that's just classic. So that's an example of how you can do it sporadically and still have an impact.
And it comes across as he would actually say that thing that he's just
Yeah,
said on that clip. It's not that
he
it's manufactured.
he's
He owns
enjoying
his
that.
own
He's
narrative.
getting a buzz out of it, and I think that's where we need to go with social media. Look, there's definitely some people who rely on it. They wake up every day, and how they get paid is through social media. And again, it's an unbelievably good marketing tool that doesn't cost you an awful lot of money. So, I can understand why companies do it, and again, it's a very effective marketing. But at the same time, I do think that it can consume you and it can distract you. So I'm very conscious, and I probably have been victim of doing that, where I kind of spend too much time trying to do something, and then I go, what am I at here? I'm after spending the last hour fiddling with a video. I need I need to get this roof done. I need to get this type of stuff done. So I try and I'm getting better at that. I'm also getting quicker at it, but I'm also getting better at managing my time. And you don't want to be at home when your kids are there and you're saying, "Oh, just give me a few minutes. I'm trying to get this video done." I try and edit my videos and post my stuff when I can. It's usually in the evenings or it's in a spare time, and whenever I can find a bit of spare time. But yeah, no, it's all good. And I love seeing young people coming out with some really cool stuff. Again, especially in our construction industry, there's some unbelievably good content creators. And again, sometimes it's the simplest of stuff. It's just a guy showing you how to put a socket on a wall, or sometimes girls, like some of the stuff that they can, the females in our industry, some of the stuff they have is absolutely brilliant. So it's pretty cool to see that we have a generation of people that are, again, representing our industry in a really cool way. And I love seeing people being successful. It's a, people are people do say, oh, there's a lot of begrudgery out there, but there's also a lot of support out there as well. Unfortunately, I think the begrudgery and the negative stuff gets a little bit more noticed than the positive stuff. But there's a huge amount of positivity out there, and it's great to see our industry now becoming a bit mainstream when it comes to that as well.
Hi guys, as you're enjoying this podcast, I just wanted to take a few seconds to let you know about my company, Coyle Group. We're not just another safety recruitment agency. We're your partners in building a safer future. With over 25 years of experience and more than 1 million hours of safety work completed, our mission is clear. Provide top-tier health and safety contractors tailored to the unique needs of your project. We also carry out on-site construction audits. From wind energy to power stations, utilities and engineering projects, our global reach and specialised expertise ensures your operations are not just compliant, but exemplary. For more information on how ensuring safety and sustainability of your products using our team of HSE contractors, visit coyle-group.com or click on the show notes, or video description now. I've also put a booking link into the description for you to click and have a one-to-one conversation with me. Now, back to the podcast. Enjoy and see you soon.
Yeah, well, we within my own company, we changed our strategy there a couple of months back, and we said, let's start talking to people and just having real conversations, as opposed to sort of, have you got any business? Have you got any work going or whatever else? And I have on average now about 4 to 6 calls per day where it's actually a network call, as opposed to I'm not looking for anything. We have stuff, we give them links to all of our library of stuff for free. We don't look for any money for that. Give them access to we have a book, Workplace Safety on a Budget and stuff like that. We've about 5 or 6 things that we said, look, it's sitting on the shelf, it's not doing anything anyway. We're not commercializing it. We'll just give it to these people for free. And actually, the conversations are so more of quality when you get into a situation where there's no barriers. Okay, what does this guy want? Is this guy trying to sell me something? And the reason I'm saying this to you is, it's after triggering something in my head, in that content is great. And, but as you just said it there, you've 20 years under your skin in terms of being, on TV and in the media. And that's a massive amount. Think about the amount of hours that's gone into that in order to produce the results you've got. So content, fine, but don't forget the art of conversation. I suppose is what I've learned from that in the last couple of months.
I agree, and I love what you're saying there about sharing your library and stuff like that as well, because I grew up in an era when, trades people would be like, make sure you don't tell him how to do that now. You you keep that secret yourself. And it was really like, and again, the clients knew nothing and were literally told, I'm building the house and get out of my way and I'm going to do a type thing, Look, we live in a completely different era. We live in the communication age. We all have phones. It can be, it can be a little bit frustrating if a client Googles something and then meets you the next day and starts trying to carry on as if they're an expert in whatever it is they've Googled the night before. But look, again, once you can have an open and honest conversation with them, it's usually quite easy to give them a couple of examples about what they've Googled and what is actually happening is completely two different things, But look, it's, in my opinion, when you give something, you're going to get something back. The giver's gain is what they call it. And I'm a firm believer in that. Like if I meet someone and they're being very protective and standoffish, there's a good chance I'm probably not going to want to deal with them. Whereas if I meet someone and they're quite open and they're confident, like I'm super open, transparent and confident because I know I'm going to do a good job. And I know that I'm not going to cut any corners. So I'm not trying to hide anything. Whereas if I find someone is trying to cover up a little bit or is trying to, hold back a little bit, there's usually a reason why they're trying to do that. They're trying to maybe trick you into a different deal. They're trying to do something like that. So look, business is business and we all have to make money. And I always say this, nobody should ever apologize for making a profit. I don't get out of bed in the morning to go and do charity work all day. I do my home rescue. I do more than my fair share for charity work, but my business is my business. And if I don't bring in profit, I'm not able to pay my lads. I'm not able to put my vans on the road. I'm not able to, keep my business running. And most importantly, I'm not able to look after my own family and my business partner's family. So look, we never apologize for making a profit, but we're never going to gouge people either. And we'll always deliver good products. And I think that's, once you kind of get over that, once you're kind of open about that, it does make life a little bit easier because nobody's trying to go, oh, is he sticking an extra few quid in or something? I'll go, look, I'm going to make a profit. I'm not going to gouge you. I'm not going to, double the price on you or anything like that. But you have to allow me to make a profit, because I think anyone who's listening to this podcast who's been involved in any construction project has had that moment where they look at the numbers and they go, oh no, we're going to lose here. So you then have like a month's work left, and it doesn't matter how hard you work for that month, you're going to end up with a loss at the end. It's such a horrible feeling. Like you literally have a pain in your stomach going to do the job, and it's very demotivational. So I think anybody who thinks they're being clever by getting anybody to do a job, or this is in any industry, if I'm honest, if you drive too hard of a bargain, there's a good chance that you're going to end up with a less than perfect product. And I think, I think it's a bit of a foolish game. People are a bit addicted to it. I've often seen people where they just have to get the best bargain, and they drive such a hard bargain, but they just drive
Yeah.
it too hard, and then you can't expect to get the right product if you're going to try
Yeah.
and force somebody to do it at a loss or at a really, really, really tight price.
Yeah, the value falls through the bottom floor, and then everybody's picking up the pieces, and it's like a domino effect. Everybody gets affected by it, and then people that start losing mortgages, and or mental health kicks in and stuff like that. The other thing that fascinates me from this conversation is, and I think I don't know about you, but I've noticed it. Tricky people, as in people that are not straight, tend to attract similar people into their circle or into their network. And if you, for whatever it's worth, if you listen to the podcast or watching on YouTube, think about that from your own point of view. Is that you might think, okay, I'll only do this once, but then it becomes sort of normality within your own mindset and within your own network. And next thing, all of a sudden, these people start coming out of the woods and like out of nowhere. And for some reason, there's a law of attraction, I believe, in terms of, if you're good to people and if you're honest and if you're transparent, yes, you're going to have people you'll always have your radar up and you'll always be trying to gauge to make sure that you're protected. But if you're going off center and not doing things according to book, it's just a cascade, and it just becomes a totally toxic environment where you actually get yourself so caught up into that environment. There's only one way it's going to go, and eventually it will catch up with you. Could be 5-10 years before it catches up with you. But going back to your brand, and your reputation. Like, your brand is every day. It's every minute. It's every week. And you're only as good as your name, and you're only as good as your last job, and all that kind of
Yeah, and I really
usual.
like that saying. I really do. I really like that saying of, you're only as good as your last job, and it's like in a footballer, you're only as good as your last game. So you can be a really good footballer if your form drops, or if you're not able to perform or do what the team wants you to do. Well, then the chances are you're not going to keep your place in the team. So I like to keep people on their toes. I like being kept on my toes myself. I think it's healthy. I'm not saying I want people giving out to me, and I'm not saying that I will enjoy, being pulled up by an engineer or an architect or whoever it is that pulls me up on something. But I'm certainly willing to listen. I'm certainly willing to learn. I think as well, like our industry as well, like people don't realize how the construction industry has evolved in such a short period of time. Like, we went from literally just building, houses simply for a roof over your head. Then it kind of evolved into rooms. Then an amazing thing called an ensuite came along. And then, now we're talking pure luxury. Like, now, like, in the last 15 to 20 years, like, heating controls, the different types of materials, air tightness, there's just so many different facets of construction that have evolved in a very, very short period of time. I always liken it to like what I said earlier about our phones. Like, remember the first time we had a phone, it was the big, huge kind of thing that you carried, a big brick that you carried around, and then suddenly you could start sending texts on it. Then before you know it, there was actually a picture on it. Now it's like, here's me and you. I'm sitting in a van, in the centre of Dublin talking to you, and that type of evolution is amazing to see. But the construction industry has evolved nearly as quickly and nearly as much because, I suppose us as humans, we've completely changed how we live. So we're not just happy to have a roof over our head. We're not just happy to have like an ordinary door at the front of our house. We want it to look well. We want it to function well. We need it to be efficient, because cost of electricity, cost of any kind of running of a home or a business building is so high that it makes sense to make sure that you're running and you have your building running efficiently with good insulation and the economic ways of renewable energies and stuff like that. And also, because this is a huge issue, we really do need to be considering our environment and doing things in a green way and in an environmentally friendly way. It's a win-win. I always call it a win-win situation. You're going to get the benefits out of it by obviously having a more efficient product, and you're doing your bit for the community, So it does make a whole lot of sense. And in Ireland at the moment, we have the SEAI grants, which are motivating people to go in that direction. So there's a huge retrofit drive in our country at the moment. with huge targets to meet, and like they are European wide as well. Basically, the whole world has to become more energy efficient and has to become a more energy economic place to stop doing what we're doing, which is really kind of using our planet as our facility rather than the other way around. We're here on the planet, and we should be giving it the respect that it deserves. Instead of that, we're stripping it all out.
Well, it's funny you should mention that because we just had a guest on the show recently, and that it was all about waste management, and it was all about, we don't know what we're putting in the skips anymore. We're just dumping a lot of stuff into the skips, and it's just something small, as in, he was talking about even just dumping out a skip before, the skip company comes, and just look at the stuff that you're actually putting into that skip, and look at the money and the waste that you're actually generating through a lack of education. I think we all just, get that skip off site as soon as possible because it's in the way, as opposed to, hold on a minute, what did we actually put into that skip? And plasterboard is banned from landfill, as we know, and yet people are still piling plasterboard into the skips. Like, there's a lot of education. But anyway, there's a whole
Yeah,
podcast on that.
there is, yeah. Well,
Don't get me
recycling is what
started.
we're talking about there, and it makes total sense. Like, because construction materials are so expensive now. Like, I hate waste. People, I think the lads think that I'm out of meanness, and you know what? I'm going to be honest. It definitely is out a bit of cost saving, but there's no doubt about it. Like, there's nothing worse than seeing a whole load of materials being over ordered and then pure waste, and then the whole carbon footprint that goes into getting that product made, brought to the site, worked with on site, and then it's just a load of it thrown to the side. Like, it makes no sense, and that type of inefficiency,
Oh,
it's one of my pet hates. If I'm honest,
oh,
it
it kills
really
me.
is a pet hate.
If we talk about lean construction, and we haven't addressed the waste management at all. I don't believe. I think there is some really good tier 1 companies, and some tier 2 companies that are, have done really good efforts to try and segregate it and stuff like that. But if people listen to that podcast, like, this guy is just a total geek, 30 years in the business, and he just went to town on me in terms of how bad the situation is, and I didn't realize it was as bad as it is. But you know, um, I had experience where I've been in a waste transfer facility, and I've seen pickers on the line who, wouldn't know that asbestos had been dumped into a skip, and it's coming down the line. They wouldn't be aware of what asbestos looks like, and there's also a human element to this, where there's actually people that have to segregate this by hand. So yeah, I think me and you would have to do a separate podcast on that, because you got me started, and I'm all right. It sounds like you got
Sorry for
you
that.
started.
Sorry for that. Let's calm it back down again.
But going back to the construction industry and all the good stuff that you've highlighted, one of the key issues that we wanted to talk about today is, where's all the people we're going to get in order to deliver the production. So, it's all right having all the innovation, and software has moved on, and, we've become better organized, shall we say. But it means nothing if you don't have the conveyor belt of people coming through the system.
Yeah, look, absolutely. Like, we briefly discussed, the evolution of technology in a short period of time, and look, I know that in Ireland we are absolutely guilty of. Look, Ireland has a fantastic history of building America, building the UK, and we were always a nation that were willing to work, and we were willing to travel to work. Um, we've kind of, our reputation isn't quite as strong now as it used to be for that, but we still have a brilliant core of brilliant people in the construction industry, and I know this because when I go to the World Trades, I try and get to see the World Trades events every year, and we've a brilliant event in Dublin that's held every year, and I go in and have a look at that, and if I can, and then try and go to the international one as well, and the level of tradesmanship, craftsmanship in lots of industries, but especially in construction industries, like, it's huge. Like, the quality is phenomenal. So we have that reputation, but the problem is that our mothers and fathers wanted to get us out of construction because they thought, oh, look, I don't want my son or my daughter to be, working on a building site all their life, as if it was a bad thing. Our government, like, totally motivate everybody to go to college and to seek an academic career. Like, we've got a huge amount of pharma companies and a huge amount of IT companies in Ireland for tax reasons, as well as it being a very well educated and English speaking country, which does attract a lot of those big names. But what's happened in the meantime is that our construction industry it's always been treated like the kind of poor relation, the kind of place that, you don't want to end up in. And I could never understand that. And look, I could have very easily went to college. I done okay in my leaving cert, and I got decent enough uh, results, but I just wanted to be on a building site. I don't know what it was. I just had this vision of being up on a roof on a sunny day, and I still get that buzz when I'm up on a roof on a sunny day. Not that we get that many in Ireland, but when we do, it's such a brilliant and beautiful experience to be there. Every day is a different day. All of those type of real positive things. That's what attracted me into construction. But I can remember genuinely, and this is a fact. My careers guidance teacher in school said to me, "Now, if you don't start thinking about going to college and thinking about going this direction, you could end up on a building site." And I said, "What do you mean by I could end up on a building site?" And she says, "Well, that could actually happen." And I said, "Well, that is going to happen because that's what I want to do. And if I'm lucky, I'll get an apprenticeship." And I was lucky, and I got a brilliant apprenticeship of a small builder who basically we went into green fields and we built everything from the foundation to the ridge board and everything in between. So I got a brilliant building apprenticeship as well as a carpentry apprenticeship. So I really enjoyed both elements of it, and I went on then, and I worked as a carpenter after my apprenticeship for a few years, and then I always just wanted to have my own business doing general construction, being a builder, I suppose, a contractor is what they call it in other countries. So that's kind of where it's gone. But the point that we're saying is, like, that drive, the Irish mentality to drive people away from construction, we're actually reaping the negatives of that now, where we don't have enough people. We've got a housing crisis. We've got an infrastructure that is badly in need of an upgrade. We actually have a huge amount of money in our country for once in our lives, and we don't have people to build the houses that are needed. There's a huge houses shortage. There's a homeless crisis. There's the energy upgrade that needs to be done. Huge targets to be met. So pretty much there's this absolute massive amount of work that is not just needs to be done. It's required to fulfill the amount of our population and to get to reach the targets that we need to do, and to basically keep our country, the infrastructure in our country up to speed. So there's all of this going on, and we don't have the trades. We're not an attractive country anymore for people to travel to because it's so expensive to live here. There is nowhere for them to live, and we haven't encouraged our own youth to get into the industry. So every single chance I get, I beat that drum. Like, I'm telling you now, there's very few industries. In fact, I'd nearly say there's no other industry in the world that you can get paid while you learn. So if you're serving your apprenticeship, you're getting paid from day one. You're getting paid to make mistakes, but you're also getting paid to learn. You're in college. You have to have a side job and you have to do those things, and you don't actually really get to be fully employed until probably 5 or 6 years later. With an apprenticeship, you're on the site, you're on the job, and you're getting your college experience as well. And I do always say this to young people as well. You get an apprenticeship, you have a trade. That is your ticket to travel the world. Yes, we want to keep people here, but let's be honest, it's a brilliant thing to be able to travel and see some other places. And if you go to Australia, you go to America, any of those kind of countries, lots of other countries you can go and you can get straight in, and you'll be employed within literally 2 days of getting off the plane, and you can travel and work at the same time. So there's a huge amount of positives for you to get into the construction industry. And the last point I'd make is as well, because it's not just about trades, it's not just about the man on the site. Like, it doesn't mean you're going to be wheeling a wheelbarrow or carrying blocks or putting timber up on a roof all your life. The amount of jobs in sales, in technology, in transport, marketing, it's huge. The sector is absolutely phenomenal. Give me 1 second.
I love
Can
that.
I do? Sorry, I just have to move.
He's
It's
getting
going
a
to take me a
delivery
second,
doc.
okay? Apologies.
No problem.
Sorry, but this the problems with being in a van.
He's getting a delivery docket. But while you're doing that, Pete, my issue is that we're losing people to overseas projects as well. So there's a lot of Irish a lot of people moving away from Ireland, as you say, to more lucrative jobs. So whichever country is ahead of the curve in terms of the labour shortage is the one that's going to win out first. And I don't know that I don't think there's a joined up plan in Ireland to sort of hold on to these people.
Beginning to get a little in our industry. You know, you go to like this person is heralded as a person, you know, like you treat like a doctor or a be in Ireland. There's a huge amount of respect. So, like I think it's only are given respect that they deserve to be given, and just treated like, you know what I mean, an industry that is needed and is required, and like that's like very clearly done in those other countries. They instantly give a tradesman and tradesperson the respect that they deserve, and you're not looked down upon, and you're incentivized to be in the industry. And I just don't think we're there yet in Ireland, but we are going to get there. And like there's some other European countries where it's the same as well. And look, you see some terrible stuff, you know, out in Dubai and these other places where the health and safety hasn't caught up to where it is. And, you know, there's the labour conditions are terrible in some of those countries. And that is slowly getting better. I have to say in most of Europe now, the health and safety is in a really good place. And building sites are good places to be. They're very healthy. They're like, you know, mental health is thought about. Obviously, you know, the weight restrictions, there's a huge amount of training and done as well. So it's not the old school thing of you're just thrown onto a site and told there, like, you know, break that house down or build that house. Like, you're given a huge amount of training and a huge amount of support. And again, I really do feel that we're ahead of the curve in our industry than we are in a lot of other industries as well. But I just think that maybe that hasn't the mainstream people don't fully realise that just yet.
No, but I think there's other things that we could be doing as well. My own personal opinion is there's a lot of cross-transferable skills that are out there that we're not tapping into. So, for example, just a simple example, like a teacher has a great way of connecting with pupils. So how does that relate to construction site? Well, you know, training people to a point of where we're getting to a stage that the culture is set and that the expectations are set and the people are trained in a logical, you know, clear format. And, you know, we've had people on the show here who were teachers and now they've been, the construction company actually had targeted teachers to make them into project managers because, you know, they can project manage. The motto of the company was, we can teach them the technical skills, but, you know, the technical people will be in front of them. We just want them to be able to collaborate these people together in such a way that the communication is clear and that there's, you know, a discipline to the way people apply themselves. And that's just one simple thing. It could be the Irish Air Corps or people that are retiring early out of, like, they go into the Air Corps at 16 years of age. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's so many ways that we can tap into that. And again, another podcast. And I'm conscious that you're being moved off site as well, left, right, and centre. So I'm going to throw a few curveballs at you before we finish up, Pete, if you don't mind. Yeah. Knowing what you know now, what would you do different?
I'd probably focus on my profit and loss a bit earlier than I did. I'm in construction a long time and I'm doing okay for myself, but I could have been doing a lot better for myself if I had have been a bit more aware of, you know, I suppose. Look, come here. It's probably something that I've probably been hard on myself there. I wanted to kind of tick an awful lot of boxes in my career in terms of projects that I worked on that were really nice jobs to be involved in, and I got a huge amount of training, and I suppose I've built myself into a very strong situation now where I've got a huge amount of conservation experience, and I've got a very good variety of construction that I can do. But there were moments when I probably could have done more profitable things, but I decided to go maybe the route of working on something that, I don't know, I probably enjoyed more than another job. And my bank account would tell me I should have done the profited thing, and my wife would probably tell me the same thing. But you know, at the same time, I've done okay for myself, and I've got lots of really exciting and good projects on at the moment.
I was just, I can resonate with that because I was very similar to yourself, and I used it as the education of life. We put it down as that was my university, and, you know, so long as it didn't put my family at risk, That's obviously the main thing. A point of interest about you that not many people would know about Pete the Builder. Like, I didn't know that about him.
I suppose I've been very lucky. I've had a very good sporting career as well. I played League of Ireland football, which is the highest standard in Ireland. I also played GAA, which is our national sport. I played with the Dublin Masters, which is the Dublin over 40s, and we won the All Ireland in 2018. So I have an All Ireland medal. Yeah. I've done martial arts all my life as well. I was the Irish karate champion for a while. I'm currently doing jiu-jitsu. I really enjoy jiu-jitsu. Yeah, so I've been very lucky that way as well, in that I've always been fit and healthy. I haven't had any big injuries in my career as a sports person, and it morphed in well with my construction as well. But I'm now just doing my jiu-jitsu and a little bit of GAA, and concentrating on my work and family as well at the moment. But that's one thing, I suppose, that people probably, as I was younger, would have seen me as a bit of a sport Billy type person, and I was always playing sports and always involved in different sports, and that stood me really well. I'm a very good swimmer as well. I really enjoy swimming, and I've met so many people through sport over my life. Like, it's amazing. Like, everywhere I go, people are like, oh, do you remember we did this together, 20, 30, 40 years ago, even sometimes. And it's a brilliant network of people to have as well. And again, sport, there's a very good chance if you're involved in sport, you're going to meet positive people. Not always. There's always a few bad apples, but in general, it's a very good direction. And I would highly recommend that if anyone has an interest in sport, to stick with it, and to put your kids into it, and to try and get everybody involved in both team and individual sports if you can, because the two types of sport are different, but the network of people and the support that you gain through sport is phenomenal.
100%. Pete, if people want to reach out to you, how do they do it? What way do they contact you? Like, what's
well,
best?
on Instagram, I'm Pete _ the Builder, and if people want to check that out and have a bit of fun that way, or ask me any questions that way, they can. And obviously I've got my home rescue TV show coming soon as well. I'd love for people to tune into that. It'd be great to give that a good push this year as well. But social media is probably the best way to contact me. And my company's name is Michael Duffy and Sons Construction Limited, or MDS Construction. So our website is www.mdsconstruction.ie. And that's Pete the Builder.
Fair play to you, Pete. It's been an absolute pleasure, and you are an inspiration. So well done, and we hope to have you on the show again in the future. Brilliant. Love the podcast, and we wish you every success. And thanks very much for raising the profile of construction in Ireland in particular.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Gavin, and it was a great chat, and it was great to talk about our industry. And I really do feel that the construction industry is an industry that deserves a bit more respect than what it's given, and anything that anybody can do to highlight the positive stuff in construction is a good day, So and also one last thing, I have a Christmas experience that I'm involved in called Lugwoods, and this year is our 10th year up and running, and we're bringing the magic of Lapland to the Dublin mountains. So if anybody would want to see the most authentic Christmas experience in Ireland, it's Lugwoods, which is LUGGWOODS .ie. It's a fantastic experience. So I'm going to get you up there, Gavin. I'm going to get you up there this year.
Yeah. Yeah, it's as if you haven't got enough on your plate. Oh my God, you just keep on adding more and more stuff to it. Give us the links. We'll put them in the show notes to the RT player for the previous season, Lugwoods, the construction company and everything else. And keep smashing it, Pete. And we really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Gavin. You're a legend. Thank you.
Hello, Gaffers. Hope you're enjoying the podcast. We love every one of the guests that we have. But in order to bring on more great guests, we'd love to build the channel with you. So hit the subscribe, hit the like button, and let's create a really great community where we bring in better and better guests for you to deliver great content and great pieces of information that you can take back into your business.